The regulatory framework at the Get Informed level looks at the pathways and associated timelines for regulation around the world and reports on the changing regulations for laboratory-developed tests, in vitro diagnostics, and companion diagnostics. It also assesses the impact of regulations on new therapies and the links between therapy and diagnostic labels. The Get Planning level helps you with further launch considerations such as workstreams and actions and includes an Essential Diagnostic Launch Kit. Each market has its own regulatory pathway for diagnostic tests. In the US, for example, the FDA has two pathways for assessing in vitro diagnostics: the 510(k) pre-market notification and the pre-market approval, or PMA. Europe, on the other hand, has a process called CE marking, which is a manufacturer's self-declaration that its product meets the requirements of the applicable European Community directives. Other global markets, such as Japan and China, have their own regulatory processes. What further complicates matters is that in many countries the current regulatory environment for diagnostics that are linked to a therapy is evolving and tightening, especially around companion diagnostics. Some markets are even considering tightening the regulation for laboratory-developed tests that labs develop and offer themselves. So the goal of this framework is to understand the regulatory requirements for diagnostics in different global regions and to work out how best to plan and navigate at the right time within evolving regulatory landscapes. The specific objectives for the framework are: firstly, to explain the regulatory relationship between the therapy and test; secondly, to discuss the creation of an efficient testing market and the importance of considering strategy for both laboratory-developed tests, or LDTs, and IVD kits. A further objective is to understand how best to interface with current and future regulatory policies in the US, Europe, and other key regions, and how evolving regulations may result in increased complexity and possibly influence the type of test being adopted by laboratories. It also aims to identify how delays to the regulatory process can be prevented and even expedited. Finally, it will help you plan a robust strategy, enabling you to keep up with any future regulatory changes that could impact your product.